Let me help, Jazz begged. For me? Go home, Jazz. Dead woman in a field. Tragic, but nothing more. But the fingers! Come on! That's not a woman who stumbled out there naked at night and fell and hit her head. That's not Joe Bob McKick smacking around his girlfriend and then leaving her to die. We already had one serial killer in this town. Be a hell of a coincidence to have another one, don't you think? Jazz pressed on. At any point in time, it's estimated there's something like 30 to 40 serial killers active in the United States. I think, G. Williams said, sighing, that I've got a lot of work ahead of me, and you're not helping any. We'll figure this body out, along with all the other usual junk we have to do around here. He gestured for Jazz to leave. You're at least treating this as a reportable death, right? Of course I am. I've got the medical examiner coming in first thing tomorrow morning for a complete autopsy. But Dr. Garvin is doing a quick workup today. A woman's dead, Jazz. I take that very seriously. Not seriously enough to be going over the crime scene with tweezers, or to cut down the vegetation to look for clues, or to... G. William rolled his eyes. Give me a break. What do you think this is? What kind of resources do you think we have here? I had to call in the stadies and deputies from 3 towns over to do justice to that scene. You should be looking at bugs and soil samples, and I don't see anyone casting footprint molds, and there weren't any footprints, G. Williams said, exasperated. And the other stuff? We have to contract out to the state for forensic odontology, for botanical services, for anthropology and entomology. We're a small town in a small jurisdiction. Stop comparing us to the big boys. We'll get the job done. Not if you don't know what the job is in the first place. A serial killer, G. Williams said, skepticism dripping from every syllable. How'd you find the body? Jazz asked, desperate for something that would prove his point. You didn't trip over it out there. Was it an anonymous call? If you got a call, that's totally a serial killer making sure you see his handiwork. You know that, right? He'd gone too far. G. William could take a lot of abuse, but he didn't cotton to condescension. Yeah, Jazz, I know that. I also know that serial killers like to stick around and watch the cops work. The words slammed Jazz full in the chest. No less powerful and painful than if G. William had drawn his service revolver and put 2 slugs into his center of mass. Jazz was afraid of 2 things in the world, and 2 things only. One of them was that people thought that his upbringing meant that he was cursed by nature, nurture, and predestination to be a serial killer like his father. The second thing was that they were right. And with the discovery of this new body, who could blame them? The odds of 2 separate serial killers picking a tiny town like Lobo's Knot were beyond astronomical, so far beyond that didn't even bear serious consideration. Billy Dent was locked up. 32 consecutive life sentences. The joke around town was that he wouldn't even be eligible for parole until 5 years after he was dead. He was on total lockdown, 23 hours a day in a 5x8 cinder block cell, and had been since the moment he set foot in penitentiary. He'd had no visitors other than his lawyer in that whole time. When the original devil couldn't do the crimes, who did you look at next? His son, of course. If Jazz didn't know for certain that he wasn't involved in this murder, he would have pointed the finger, at himself. It made complete sense that the son of the local serial killer would kill someone. But just because it made sense, didn't make the thought any easier to hear. That, he stammered, is over the line. I learned a lot from Billy, and I can use that to... You go skulking around a crime scene, spying on me and my people. You march into my office and violate my privacy by reading my personal notes, G. Williams said, taking points off on his fingers as he went. Jazz couldn't help thinking of the severed finger in his pristine plastic evidence bag, just sitting there like leftovers. I could probably bring you up on some kind of charge if I wanted to take 5 minutes to think about it. Demanding I let you in on a case, which would be highly improper even if you weren't a kid, and even if you weren't Billy Dent's kid. He had lost track of the counting. His whole right hand was splayed out. All those reasons, Jazz, and plenty more. All of them say I won't let you help out. Come on! You bring in experts, you're an expert all of a sudden? Jazz leaned in, and they met over the desk, almost bumping into each other. G. Williams' mustache and jowls quivered. I know things, Jazz said in his strongest voice. You know too much and not enough, the sheriff said, so softly that it caught Jazz off guard. What are you saying? I'm saying, deep breath, you learned a lot from him, but you want to be careful you don't act too much like your daddy, now don't you? Jazz glared at him, then wheeled around and stomped out of the office, slamming the door behind him as he went. Let me do this my way, G. William called through the closed door. That's my job. Your job is to try to be normal. Jasper? Lena said nervously as he flew past her desk. Goodbye? He didn't even realize he'd ignored her until he was next to the Jeep, seething. He kicked the bumper with the flat of his foot. It complained with a metallic, grinding squeal and threatened to drop off. I'll show you what I learned from my father, he thought.